Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new Sencut Pulsewave button lock. This is a very inexpensive knife. It's also a very good knife. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. I'm going to give you guys all my thoughts on this knife, but it's very inexpensive and comes in a few different configurations. I will link this knife right down in the description for you guys to take a look at if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement here, get some specs. Overall length of the Pulsewave coming in at 7.85 inches overall. Blade length, 3.5. Cutting edge, 3 1/8. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the 8010 and the 8020.5, you can see it's a little longer than the 8020.5, definitely shorter than the 8010, nowhere near as robust. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? A little closer, I think, to the size of the PM2. Definitely longer than the Para 3. Even including the forward choil, which is also present on the PM2, it has more cutting edge. So that might, be helpful for some people. Last but not least, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. Very close to both, actually, but it does feel like a bigger knife than Deca, for sure. How's the action on this knife? This is a button lock knife, meaning the detent and the lock are both the plunge lock. You push the button, the blade falls into the closed position, pull the flipper tab, and it flips. Use the thumb studs, and you can reverse flick it, or you can thumb flick it, or you can do none of that fancy stuff and just wheel it out. It's all very, very good. I really like the thumb studs on this knife. This is just exceptionally done, and they are beautifully comfortable. Sencut has, if you want to look, if you use the link for this guy, you can just type in Sencut in the search bar. I think it goes to Blade HQ. There are a ton of Sencut button locks, and they're all good. The ones that have thumb studs, their thumb studs are okay, right? They also have other button lock knives that are like combination button lock and flipper tab. This is probably my favorite with the combination. And I just really, I'm a stickler for a good thumb stud, and because they have rounded this off and added steps, not aggressive steps, not heavily tapering steps, but just a couple of steps there, it's got enough grippiness that you can get a hold of it, but not so much that every time you flick it, it's just going to be, you get a little pinch on your thumb. No, it's really easy. And the plunge lock creates enough detent that the flipper tab is also nice. It's not perfect. I've never experienced a button lock with a flipper tab I thought was a perfect flipper, because it just isn't as good as a ball bearing, like a detent ball setup. So those always feel a little bit better, but it's good enough. Light switching it is good. Thumb flicking it is also good, and it's got great action with no drag. So when you push that button, it's going to drop into the closed position, right? The lock is good. Sencut generally does a good button lock. All it needs to do on this channel is survive what I call a triple tap, and it does. So we can move on. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's maybe slightly thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see that this knife really isn't going to be too much of a problem in the pocket if you carry knives that are about the same size as this. It's a little longer than the Para 3. Not quite as tall, even including the flipper tab. Definitely smaller in overall size versus the Spyderco PM2. So what materials are we looking at here? We're looking at Peel Ply Texture G10 sitting on top of steel liners that have been milled out for a little bit of weight reduction. We have a satin finished 9CR18 MOV blade, which is a perfectly acceptable steel at this price point. I have no problem with that steel. I think it's good to go. No, there's no other. For some reason, I thought I wasn't done talking about materials yet. I am done talking about materials. What does it weigh? It weighs 3.75 roughly ounces, and you're getting, what did we measure it at? 3.5 inches of blade. Pretty good ratios there, and your balance is right where you're going to put your index finger, right behind the pivot. So really good. Honestly, overall, considering it's almost to what I call the standard for a full-size knife, which is 8 inches, I don't have any complaints there. Let's go ahead and get out my tools for a hardware check. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel, or the pinned comment in the comment section. How many of you mouth that with me? I'm wondering. Like, you guys have heard me say it so many times. I'm just wondering, like, do you guys mouth it along with me? Or does your inner voice say it with me? We have a T8 pivot, and we have T8 body screws because Sencut understands that T6 body screws suck. We have T6 pocket clip screws, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me too much. And they're also using the pocket clip screws as some of the body screw, like whichever side the pocket clip is mounted on, one of the pocket clip screws is the frame screw, which is a nice way to minimize the total amount of hardware on the knife. So it's good construction with minimal hardware. That's what I like to see. Very easy to take apart and put back together. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. I'm going to guess that this is probably 110 to 115 thousandths when it comes to thickness. Let's find out. No, boy, look at that, even thinner. All right, meat and potatoes time. There's not a lot to talk about here, guys. This is a straightforward, well-designed utilitarian pocket knife. Not designed specifically for the collector or enthusiast, but if you are new to knives and maybe you've only been exposed to the stuff at the Walmart counter or your local thrift store, or not thrift store, flea market, maybe, you buy your pocket knives at the same place that you buy your vape juice, which, if you didn't know, is a bad place to buy a pocket knife. Now, I don't know too many people who unironically buy knives from the gas station, but we shouldn't have to say it. That's not where you should buy a pocket knife. But maybe you're just new and you're like, I want to watch this knife reviewer tell me where to buy knives and also spit all over the knives he's reviewing. Sorry about that. It happens way too often. For people who are wanting to dip their toes into, pocket knives, this is where you start. This is a good quality budget knife. A budget knife on this channel is anything under $75, and believe me, they get a lot more expensive. But this, right around this territory, is where people are comfortable spending money on knives, if they haven't experienced the crazy lower depths of the iceberg that is, the knife world. But there's a lot of crap in this territory. This is something I don't go over often enough for new people. And considering the last time I went over this, really took time to go over this, I think I had less than 100,000 subscribers. So there's obviously a lot of people here that might not know. You can definitely buy an absolute piece of junk knife for about $45. You can also buy a really nice, dependable, high-quality folding knife for about $45. This is of the latter of the two. This is a very, very high-quality knife. And when it comes down to the action and manipulation, things have been tuned so that the knife can operate the way that it is intended to operate. We're also using materials that are not only acceptable, but generally considered high quality. The price point, G10 and stainless steel liners. 9CR18 MOV is a stainless composition that will hold, versus the general competition of compositions that we see at this price point, it will hold a decent edge. It's stainless, which doesn't mean it's impervious to corrosion. It means it will resist it very, very well. You still have to maintain your knives. It is reasonably tough, and honestly, at this price point, the thing that I put the most value into is it relatively easy to touch up when we compare how long the edge will last? And the answer is yes. This is very easy to touch up. That's why I like this composition. On top of that, though, equally important, if not more important, is the geometry of the blade. Because this is a cutting tool. It's not a screwdriver, despite what some people's grandpas told them. It's not a screwdriver. It's not a hammer. It's not a pry bar. It's a cutting tool. So we want our cutting tools to cut. We want the edge to continue to be sharp, right? So we want it to be easy to touch up. But part of getting good cutting performance is having a blade geometry that is optimized for general cutting tasks. And that's what we have here. We have a reasonably thin edge. I almost caught myself there. The bevel is nice and even. We don't like to see wonky bevels. We like to see even bevels, right? It's easier to maintain an even bevel, in my opinion. We have a nice flat up here and lots of room to taper down to the nice thin cutting edge. We have a nice tip. This is just a really good blade for doing general day-to-day knife tasks. And I'm not talking about surviving in the bush, jumping out of helicopters or anything like that. I'm talking about just doing regular Joe stuff with a knife, right? This will work. You can take it out. You can do long, continuous cutting tasks with this, right? Processing rope, wood, cardboard, rubber, whatever. Or you can just use it to open packages. Either way, it's going to do really, really well. This is kind of a general, all-purpose, daily, economic utility folding knife. And that's what it was designed to be. I really like that Sencut understands that if they have a flipper tab on a design like this, that the choil needs to be roomy. You cannot give us a halvesy forward choil. Now, if you have huge fingers and huge hands, I wear an XL glove, so I feel like I represent a lot of people when I say that this is a roomy forward choil. I have plenty of room up here, right? If you have huge fingers, if you've been working construction your whole life and your fingers are super thick, right? Maybe not. You might not like it as much, right? But I've got a lot of room, right? You can see here, I've got a little bit of space between my index finger and the cutting edge. I also think that the jimping and the ramp back here behind the thumb studs complement this position very well. If you need to hold the knife like this, I think this complements the index finger position. You can also rest your thumb up here, and that also feels really great. In the standard hammer grip, the knife also feels good because this is a very classic knife handle profile that has been used a million times, right? The only problem is Sencut and Civivi insist that their clips be this long and have a bill that is this pronounced, which causes a problem for me ergonomically. It's not a deal breaker. When I say problem, I mean it's a bit of a hot spot. You'll only notice that when you're doing a lot of continuous cutting and you're squeezing the knife really hard, and if you're not wearing gloves, right? Outside of that, probably doesn't matter very much. The only other issue with the pocket clip is the bill is so pronounced and it comes up and over instead of just stopping like this. It will snag on things and bend out because it's made of steel, and that's annoying. But okay. But really though, everything here is pretty run-of-the-mill for Sencut. They've just made teeny tiny improvements over past designs and combinations of, deployments and things. I mean, this is probably the best combination thumb stud flipper button lock design that Sencut has done. It is a very comfortable, very good, straightforward EDC pocket knife. And I have reviewed hundreds of knives that are very similar, right? So if you like this, the truth is, there are literally hundreds of pocket knives out there that you might also like and would perform pretty much exactly the same. But this is now one of them. It is very good. There's a lanyard hole right here if you like lanyards. Like I said, pocket clip can be mounted for left-handed tip-up carry. If you are left-handed, you'll be manipulating this knife with your index finger when it comes to the lock. You can choke up here. But as is the case with a lot of right-handed button locks that have pocket clip positions for left-handed carry, if you choke up and you're left-handed, the pad right here on your index finger is on top of that button, which means if you squeeze hard enough and in exactly the right spot, I can feel it wanting to disengage, right? You might disengage it. It could fold up on you. If you are right-handed and you're choking up, your fingers do not naturally fall on this button. So you gain the benefit of maximum choke uppage. Left-handed people, you got to be a little careful. You kind of have to keep you got to keep that pad off that button. In the standard hammer grip position, you're okay, right? Just be aware of it. Stop pin located in its traditional position with lots of shouldering there. You can see the tang rounded over. No blade play up, down, left, or right. This knife does run on bearings, so if you're going to work in sandy, dirty, dusty environments, be aware of that. No pivot lash. Very smooth and consistent in here, and honestly, for a plunge lock, not bad. Not bad on the detent. We have perfect centering, or, well, very, very close. And if it is off a little bit, it's probably because I've been flipping it. Let's see if I can recenter that real quick. A knife should come centered from the factory and not come off-centered. No, I think that's unreasonable. If a knife does come off-centered due to the pivot backing out, this is a benefit to the end user because it means that the pivot is not heavily Loctited. So you can adjust it yourself, and then if you want to, Loctite the thing after it's got the perfect centering and action according to your preferences, and then it'll just be absolutely perfect. A downside to this knife, as I'm finding out, is that the pivot is not captive, so we get to do this, which always drives me nuts. I have to do that on both sides. Did we fix the centering? Yeah, I think we did. How's the action? But now it's not wanting to drop shut. So, if you are new to my channel and you're wondering, so how do you fix that? If you have to choose between good centering and good action, do you have to? And the answer is no, you don't. You can center a blade by adjusting. Oh, I think we maybe just did it there. Oh, it's still just a little bit. Sorry. Normally I don't take this much time to adjust it, but I'm going to, because sometimes you can fix the centering and get the action you want just by adjusting the pivot just a little bit. I think literally just tightening the pivot. Oh, yeah. Oh, and it's solid too. So we did actually fix the centering by just unscrewing it just a little bit and then screwing it back in. So that can fix it sometimes. I also have tutorials on how to adjust the handle scale hardware in relationship to the pivot to adjust that. There's many ways to tweak it, and most knives that are of high quality can be adjusted for centering, lockup solidity, and smooth action, appropriately smooth action. It just takes a little bit of finagling, and I have videos on that if you want tutorials. So, but that's great. It's nice that this knife has the same tolerances that we expect from Sencut and is able to be adjusted. This is a $44.80 knife as of the time of this recording. I recommend this knife. It's easy to recommend a knife like this. I've reviewed many knives like this, and it's not anything super duper special, right? If you collect budget pocket knives, then this would be a fine addition to your collection. But truthfully, this is a knife for people who plan on buying their knife and using it. This knife will last you many years if it's properly maintained and if you use it as a pocket knife and not as some other tool that it's not. But $44.80 is very competitive, very appropriately priced, and it's just a great overall knife. So if you're not new to knives, then you'll know why this is a good knife and why it's a good price tag. If you are brand new to knives and you're like, where do I start? Honestly, there's lots of places to start, but this would be a great one right here. This would make you pretty happy. Button locks are not known for being the strongest locks in the world, but then again, here I really don't need them to withstand like insane forces. I need the knife to lock up and lock up securely enough that I don't have to worry about it folding up on me under normal circumstances. But it is nice and fun to manipulate, and it's very easy to deploy and flick, right? All of that, everything a knife should do. Good materials, it's made well, it's a good price tag. So this is gonna go in my recommended knives playlist. It's also gonna go in my cheap knives I like playlist because it's well under $75. That's gonna be pretty much it today, guys. Please, make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.